Hey, it's Derek. It's me, Derek. Welcome to UDUG, episode 3, Uncle Derek Underground, a Patreon exclusive show. What's going on, everybody? This is episode 3, but more importantly, this is episode 1 of the show, a topic you voted on. We are talking about weird carts. I got a basket of carts. I have a pile of carts over here. I have a bunch I want to show you. I have even more that I'm gonna have to show you pictures of because Uncle Derek only has so many weird carts. But I tell you what, I just want to get right into it. Thank you for your support. I will say off the top, it has been a challenging and strange year. But I am always so thankful for your support. And so was Dollop. So was Dollop right there. She's snoozing. She's snoozling. And well, Mousepad is actually behind me, so I cannot move from this chair or I will run over my dog, which I do not want to do. Well, if we're going to talk about weird carts, let's talk about, we're going to establish what we think of as a cartridge. Really, when I think of a cartridge, you think about the NES cartridges here. This is probably, at least if you're an American, this is the typical cartridge, right? This is when you think of a video game cartridge. But what is strange is that here is what the cartridges look like in Japan. We have Super Mario Bros. 3. Here's Famicom Super Mario Bros. 3. Blaster Master. Here's Famicom Blaster Master. They are much smaller. And that is because, if you didn't know, here is what an NES cartridge looks like. This is Excitebike. The cartridge itself is very small. And because of, I guess, the way that I've never actually understood why exactly, but the Famicom was a top-loading device. The NES was a front-loading toaster of a device, like that. So for some reason, you needed to have all this extra space here. Though I do wonder if maybe the reason why that was, I don't know if this is the reason. There are 72 pins on an NES cartridge. And there are only 60 pins on a Famicom cartridge. We can talk about weird cartridges right away. There's a chance, if you are an NES video game collector, you might have a actual official Famicom to NES converter built into your some of your games. So in 1985, when the NES was coming out, there was a rush to get the games out to retailers. If you are among the first people to buy it during that holiday season, you might notice that some of your cartridges have 5 screws instead of 3. In some of these carts, there are in fact converters. The first run 15 of the 17 launch games for the NES, because of, I think, manufacturing issues, just have empty barren cartridges and Famicom converters bolted on top of them. Now, the reason why I have this, a friend of mine, way back in the day, had a copy of Excitebike, and he took a hammer to it and busted it open. It did not have the converter, so he gave this to me, even though I had a copy of Excitebike. What he could have done was, if, say, you had a scale, or if you had the screwdrivers now, these are not your typical Phillips head screws up rather. And back in 2002, whenever that was, it was kind of difficult to get those screws. If say, your mom had a scale for weighing things, you could have weighed and saw that it was 3.5 ounces. If it was I think 4.5 ounces or more, that's how you figure out if you have a converter or not, without having to take a hammer to the damn thing. So I can see that my copy of Excitebike and my copy of Kung Fu, unfortunately, are 3.5 ounces. So there is no converter built into them. But one other fascinating thing about this, it's a fun thing. Here's fun lore. Stop Skeletons, Uncle Derek lore. Here's my copy of Metal Storm. Now, this is true. My copy of Metal Storm has a big footprint right here. That is because either my friend or his mom or his brother stepped on it. This is the heel of a foot. Boom. And this is how crazy game collecting used to be back in the early 2000s. My friend gave this to me. I'm pretty sure for free. Maybe I traded it for something. He gave it to me for, basically nothing because he had found another copy of Metal Storm just around in the pawn shops and thrift stores of Anchorage, Alaska at the time. That's how crazy it used to be. So he gave this to me. And if you really squint and look at the first video I ever made, you can see that I'm holding up this cartridge that is cracked. So I was looking for pictures of the official Famicom adapter, and I just found this website, oldschoolgamevault.com. So I'm just going to show their website. They got all the information and some good pictures. But there it is. There's the official. Whoop, there it is. That is the official Famicom to NES adapter that was packed inside, hidden inside launch NES games. See, yeah. Also, respect the watermark there. Okay, the oldschoolgamevault.com. But yeah, that's what my friend smashed open. I bought a bunch of Gyromites. I used to have just like 6 copies of Gyromite because I wanted to bust them open to see if any of them had. My dog is drinking water and dangling on the. You good, girl? You thirsty? Okay. I used to have a bunch of Gyromites that I was going to bust open to see if I had any converters in there, and you know what? I had to, I'd thin my collection out a couple times, and so I just was like, I got rid of them. But that's a weird cart, and it's an official cart, and it was like, it's hidden in plain sight. So that is just super, super cool. Again, here's the 10-yard fight, baseball, Clue Land, duck hunt, excite bike, golf, Gyromite, Hogan's Alley, ice climber, kung fu, pinball, stack up tennis, wild gunman, and the wrecking crew. If they have 5 pins on the back, or they have 5 screws on the back, you might have yourself a converter, though you should just, if you have a scale for like, oh, here it is. If you have a scale for, all right, for measuring like, how much flour and baking powder and that type of thing, and how much nutmeg if you have a scale for like that kind of stuff, okay? I've pulled out the scale before, and he'll be like, what are you doing? What are you selling drugs, Derek? Like, no, we're making bread. All right? We're making granola. And we weigh in NES games to see if they got Famicom stuff hidden in there. Also, you should probably weigh your carts to see if there isn't any, like, drug paraphernalia smuggled in there, because it's a lot of empty space in there. I should probably cut that part out. But that's not really weird. That's not really, really weird. Let me tell you about the unlicensed games. That's where a lot of the weird cartridges come from. Here's Tetris. The Nintendo produced one, and then here's the Tengen produced one. I like the taglines here. This says, "From Russia with fun." This just says, "The Soviet mind game." This is a very difficult one to find, because I believe there was some litigation for it. But here's the back. Shout out to Arnold, who I got this Tetris game from, apparently. I got most of my NES and Super NES games I got at like Value Village and Salvation Army. But when it comes to unlicensed NES games, it was a Wild West. Here is Crazy Creatures. And then, of course, here's Spiritual Warfare. These are very similar cases, but like I like how this has got a nice kind of a round groove. Like you could almost like slot a bunch of dimes and pennies in there. I like how I think the joke has been made that says press here. And that is because when you slid it into your NES, you had to, go in and then chunk down. It told you to press there, like you were too dumb to figure that out. This was made in Hong Kong. Well, it's not showing up quite on the camera there. This is a very similar version. You see that, but this has a little bit, groove on the side there. This has some kind of fancy wings on the side. This does not tell you to press. Oh wait, no. This says to press here, but it is. They put the press here into the plastic, just so you never. This can, hey, this can come off, and then when this comes off, you'll never know how to put it in the system. Thankfully, they said, all right, we have a foolproof plan. We're gonna punch that into the plastic. Can't miss it. But I think the craziest... Oh, what does this say? To start game, please wait up to 9 seconds on TV. Power on. Please wait 7 seconds between power off and power on. I don't know that there's any... I don't know the last time I put this into my NES. But I don't recall having any issues with it starting. Fun fact about this game. It's fun. It's a decent, fun puzzle game. The ending to the puzzle, the ending of this game is like a joke. Like, we interrupt your video game for a breaking news bulletin. And then it says, "Hi, we're the creators of this game. Thanks for playing to the end. We didn't make an ending because we never thought anybody would get this far." Or something to that effect. It's a very silly, it's a very silly ending. Not a bad little puzzle game. But for me, when it comes to weird NES carts, the king is the 4 games in 1 cartridge, the Quattro Adventure from Codemasters. There were, I believe, a few more of these. I think there were 3 altogether. But Boomerang Kid, Super Robin Hood, Treasure Island Dizzy, and Linus Spacehead. And the weirdest thing is it has... Oh, sorry. On the back here, has a switch. A little left, you can go left and right switch here to help you run the game. It is, and that is really snug, and that is a pain in the ass. That is sharp and hard to move. But yes, patent pending. Do not drop, do not get wet, do not leave direct sunlight. It's reflective. Of course you can leave in the sunlight. What are you talking about? It reflects right back to the sun. Position B. Use this position if the game does not work in position A. Position A. Made in Taiwan. Design patent pending. I got this for my birthday. I don't recall ever having trouble getting it running. All these games kind of suck. But like I think Linus Spacehead and Treasure Island Dizzy would get their own games later. I don't believe I ever actually beat any of these games. Treasure Island Dizzy, I got it's one hit and you die in that game, but it's basically like a platform adventure game. I got very, very, very close to the end of the game, and then I think I just walked into a screen and then got like shot immediately with an arrow, got ganked, and I was just like, fuck this game. It was just a Wild West of unlicensed NES games. When it comes to weird cartridges, though, there is only one unlicensed and Super NES game, and that would be Super Noah's Ark 3D, which I do not own. I'll have to show you a picture of that. So it was a wild, wild west of unlicensed shit on the Genesis and on the NES. But the Super Nintendo, they locked it down, and this is the only unlicensed Super Nintendo game that was released in its time. You needed to put another Super Nintendo game on top of it. That's why it had this extra junk up here. You had to use it like it was a Game Genie or like a Famicom converter that I will show you later, because I shot this video a little out of sequence. Continuity errors with the pillows back there. But anyway, you can get this game on Steam now and all over the place for a couple of bucks. But if you really want to own it, $3.50. Back in the day, all of my friends growing up in Anchorage, Alaska, we were very competitive with our collecting. You could find just about anything you really wanted just in my city, Anchorage. It was so crazy. So a friend of mine, the same friend that gave me Metal Storm, he found a copy of this. Just, you know, it's I think he saw it from the back. I was like, what is that thing? And they're like, I don't know, some kind of game, 50 cents. So I've actually played this for real, and I put my copy of Wolfenstein 3D on it. Yeah, it's real bad. It's the type of thing where it's like, man, $3.50 is a lot. But I could see myself, if I found like a boxed copy for this, I could see myself actually like treating myself, pulling out the credit card, tightening the belt for a month or two. Look at this crazy cart. Oh, let's go full screen on this. Look at that. Okay. Oh, there we go. This product is designed and manufactured by Wisdom Tree. It is not designed, manufactured, sponsored, or endorsed by Nintendo. Look at that up close. That is the top. Let's check out the bottom. Good pictures here, man. Damn, look at this guy. This guy, this anonymous person on eBay who I don't feel like shouting out. And that's what you go in. You slot it on top. So weird. Even the instruction book is kind of weird. How come the instruction book is like square? SNES instruction books are longer. They're more of a rectangle situation. Everything about it is weird. I could see my... Yeah. Again, yeah. If I saw a box copy somewhere, and I don't know. There's a box copy of Doom for the Super Nintendo at a shop near here, and I've had my eye on it for a bit because it's kind of expensive. It's one of those, like, you know, give myself a little treat. Give myself a little treat. I get the boxed Super Nintendo Doom, and I put it up with Eve, and then buy the boxed Super 3 Noah's Ark. Put them together next to each other on the Doom shelf, and then my collection would truly be complete. And then we have a Super Famicom Satellaview. This came out in April 1995, when the Super Nintendo was kind of really winding down in America. The Super Famicom hung out in Japan for several years afterwards. It's a big-ass cartridge that kind of looks like a souped-up Super Game Boy, but basically, it was a Satellaview was for satellite. It was you download games onto it. This is the memory card. Actually, I was looking at an eBay auction here. There is a lot. Check out Cheesemeister here on Twitter. It's Twitter, goddammit. On Elon Musk's Cross. There are a lot of Satellaview games. And I wish I could tell you all about them, but I really don't know all about these. But like, I can say this: when you study Japan, you study weird Japanese things with online and telephones. They love horse racing. There is mahjong and there is horse racing, horse betting. That's what they are all about. If there's ever a need to get a Japanese system online connected in some capacity throughout the years, you better believe there's horse betting on there. It's been mostly preserved because it was all digital. It was not physical release. And these just are so wild. I would really love to get my hands on one because I'm curious how it feels to slot one of these in there, because I like how a Super Game Boy is chunky and chonky and really secure in there. Weird cartridges. Weird. But beautiful. Probably very expensive. I want one. Ooh, not pictured. RPG Maker 2. Okay. RPG Maker 2 came out on Satellaview? I know RPG Maker 1 was like... I thought RPG Maker 1 was like PlayStation 1. Wow, was it earlier than that? Well, that's a history I don't know a whole lot about. Oh, and here's something else I found just doing research for this. And honestly, I was just like kind of so busy. I don't even know what the hell this is. Hold on, let me change it over here. Okay, this is just a really big picture. I'm not trying to really resize this for the stream here, but I will be honest. When I was just doing some quick research, making sure I had all my I's dotted and my T's crossed here, I have no idea what the hell this is. But look at this, like, the Sufami Turbo. This is a Super Famicom with a big-ass cart that has a slot for 2 carts with all of these small things. I don't even know what the hell these are. I think I saw this, was like, crap, I need to finish this video, and I have the other videos to work on. And I didn't have time to jump into this, but this is called the Sufami Turbo. I'm guessing, like, Nintendo's like, you need to use our proprietary stuff. And they're like, fuck you, we do. So they made this, and maybe this was like, technically we're not making unlicensed cartridges. We just made this thing. Maybe they licensed this and then use these little things. These are other games to circumvent it. A lot of Ultraman. You got some Ultraman, got some Sailor Moon, and are these all like Gundam, SD Gundam things? I have no idea. Super Sentai stuff. I have no idea what any of this is. But look at these, like, they almost look like they're fat, like, memory cards. Yeah, my guess is just it's this unlicensed stuff that Bandai wanted to make games. And Nintendo was like, no, you got to use our stuff. And they're like, fuck you, we do. Oh, man. So there was unlicensed stuff there were a lot of weird carts for the Super Nintendo and Super Famicom, but really the NES, the American side of the unlicensed games was just so crazy. There was a lot. I mean, it was also so common. Like, I mean, you would go to any rental store, you go to any retro shop, you look at the NES section, you're gonna find some Tengen stuff. You're gonna find unlicensed games. There were a lot of them. Not quite as many on the Super Nintendo on the 16-bit era here, but there were definitely, it was more than 0. But I believe the only one that we got was the Super 3D Noah's Ark. Fascinating stuff. Well, actually, I'm not quite done with NES stuff. I was lucky that a friend of mine hooked me up with some custom NES cases, some custom NES carts. So this is the MIDI NES, and it has got a cord. This is basically music making software. And then there's another one, Chip Maestro. I believe this is so you could plug a keyboard into it. I actually have messed with these a little bit, and they were a bit out of my depth. But, I should maybe jump back into them because it is pretty cool that I got these. Weird carts, custom carts. And then I was talking about the Famicom converters. I forgot to mention that I actually have a Famicom converter myself. And it is this guy. Game Joy FC. Here's the crazy thing, you can put a Famicom cart onto here, and then you have to take this cable, and it has an AV out, so you plug this cable into it, and then the wildest thing of all, this is a Super Nintendo cartridge. So you play with this, you can play your Famicom games on the Super Nintendo. And my brother gifted this for my birthday to me many, many years ago. And actually, for a time, it was like the only way I knew how to, the only way I could play Famicom games. There are many ways to play it. Play Famicom games, of course. Mine was a converter that you use with Super Nintendo, of all things. It is a bottomless well of weird custom carts. We are just getting started. Enough NES. Let's see. We should jump now over to the Sega and see what Sega did when it was making cartridges, because oh boy, there's some good stuff there too. Sega had lots of unlicensed games. We have the EA, the yellow tab, which broke it all open. We have Zero Tolerance here. I'm not sure this is actually an unlicensed game, but it was a weird ass looking cartridge. But really, like, the king of the weird cartridges has got to be Sonic and Knuckles. Here it is. This is an officially released thing. I've always wondered why they didn't have more on here. The cartridge itself just has a Sonic and Knuckles logo, and that's it. It's just really... It looks cool, sliding up like that. But that's just the logo there. You could have made this a little bigger. I don't know. You had room. If you look at how big these cartridges are, you see how much space... Look how big the sticker is. I don't know. You could have made it so you could put a bigger sticker on it. Otherwise, no notes. One thing about this, though, is yes, you can plug in Sonics 2 and 3 and play as Knuckles on those two games. You can plug in any game, though, and it'll yell at you, but you can push buttons and then do a bonus, the kind of sphere bonus game. And I believe every single game has like its own, it looks at the code and kind of creates its own specific boss or bonus level for each game. It's kind of interesting. Let's actually see how Sega's cartridges changed through the ages. But here is a Master System game that predated the Sega Genesis, which of course predated the 32X. And actually, fun fact, you know what was released alongside 32X? Was the Sega CD. The Sega CD is a disc-based system, but it had a memory card built into the system itself, the Sega CD. But there was also a memory card, and the memory card for the Sega CD is this guy. And this is not a weird cart. Or I guess this is a weird card because it's just a Genesis / Mega Drive cartridge. That's all it is. And you put it into the, the Genesis slot. Also, last I plugged this in, this still had saves from like, this still has like my end of the game Snatcher and Lunar saves from like 1995. So last I checked, this thing has just been sitting in a box for decades. I pulled it out finally, still have my saves on it. Ridiculous. But the box it came in is not a normal Genesis case. It's large. It's large like a Sega CD case. Oops. It's large like a Sega CD case, but it's just a cardboard box. Yeah, just a cardboard box. Put that back in there. So yeah, just kind of neat. Oh, hold on. Don't want to put it back quite yet. Hold on. Because I'm actually still comparing things. Still comparing some stuff because not only did the Sega CD have memory cards, of course, so did the Sega Saturn. In fact, the Sega Saturn had cartridges that also added RAM. This was a 4 megabyte RAM. This is a Japanese only one. This is so you could play games like, I believe, like King of Fighters 98. And maybe like Marvel vs. Capcom or something like that. But a handful of fighting games, a couple of things, needed an extra RAM. This is basically an expansion pack for the Genesis, and it looks very similar to, but it's not quite a 32X cartridge. Now you can get custom-made cartridges like this that are the RAM, that are memory cards, as well as a device that will let you play import games. But really, when we're talking Sega, the Sonic and Knuckles, like this is an officially released weird cartridge with the slot on top. You know, they made a couple million of these. This is one of the all-time great weird cartridges. It's fantastic. Honestly, when I look at this, it kind of looks like the 32X system. Maybe I'm leaning too much into that. The other, I'm sure some people are asking like, hey, what about the Codemasters games? I don't actually have any of the Codemasters games. We're going to have to go to the slideshow for that. So Codemasters are really the MVP of the weird Sega Genesis Mega Drive carts because there was no multi-tap for the Genesis. There was a mouse, but there was no multi-tap. So what do? Just you build in slot, controller parts 3 and 4 into the games themselves. They made 6 of these games. These are called, the J carts? Yeah, so these were called J carts. I don't know why. These are the only 6 games they made. They allowed for 4-player combat. There's 2 tennis games, 4 Micro Machines games. 3 Micro Machines games and Super Skid Marks. And then Super Skid Marks. So Micro Machines, Tennis 1 and 2, and then Super Skid Marks. Cool. The crazy thing I've read is that Micro Machines 2 Turbo Tournament here, allows for 4 controllers, but allows for 8 players to play simultaneously with each player using the D-pad or the face buttons. And so, that's similar to how you can play Micro Machines games like on, I believe the N64 did the same thing. And the Micro Machines game on N64 is like technically 8 players because, each player is sharing, 2 people are sharing 1 controller. However, I don't know how you do that with a Genesis controller unless like you have to have the 6-button controllers because I don't know how you... Well, I guess if you had a 3-button controller, you'd have like start is forward and then A, B, and C are like back, left, and right. I don't know how you would do that. And I feel like whoever was the 4 people that had to use the right side of the controller were at a disadvantage versus the 4 people that had the left side of the controller using a nice simple D-pad. But yeah, they only made these 6 games. And yeah, the 4-player games on the Genesis, plug it right into the damn cart. That is something you don't see. I'm trying to think about it. Like usually you see a lot of carts plugging into other carts. Not too often you see controllers plugging into carts. I think that's sometimes you see controllers plugging into other controllers, but I'm trying to think about other games where you plug the controller into the game itself. And I don't know. I can't think of any. I can't think of any. What's weird though, so these 6 games have the ports, right? But I was talking about earlier, there is, so let me pull up these two. Yeah, 2 games that they made from that Quattro pack from the Nintendo. Linus Spacehead became Cosmic Spacehead. Hold on, let me change. Yeah, so that one of the games that was on that Quattro pack from the Nintendo was Linus Spacehead. It became Cosmic Spacehead. So this has the same shape as the J carts, but it does not have the extra slots. A friend of mine had this game. My recollection is the actual game is kind of crap, but there's this really cool multiplayer game. This kind of like top-down combat style tank thing. I vaguely remember what I went over to his house to stay the night, and I remember we just played that multiplayer all night. It was great. And of course, also there was Dizzy Adventures became Fantastic Dizzy, sure to be a mega hit. Oh, yeah, sure to be a mega hit, says Video Game Magazine. Look at that weird card, man. I don't know why. I don't know what difference it makes. If they were just like, screw you, we're making our own thing. That's why a lot of unlicensed games exist, is because Nintendo wants you to use their own carts. I imagine if Sega had a similar thing, like, no, we are making the carts, so for every game that you want to manufacture, you got to buy the carts from us. So up front, got to give us some money, as well as like we get some money for every item you sell for licensing on our system in the first place. So I don't know if this was just, they were like, screw you, we're going to circumvent you and get our own thing. Yeah, Codemasters were doing their own thing. And then they just started making a lot of racing games after that. And then they moved on to tons of racing games and continue to be masters of code to this day. Oh, and here's a magazine advertisement. Foreplay. Get it? It's like the sex thing. You get it? Foreplay, like having sex, like before having sex. You're not laughing. I don't get why you don't get it. It's great. It's a hilarious joke. Introducing the revolutionary new J-Cart, the only cartridge that plays 4 at a time without adapters. Yeah, that's pretty cool. No extra hardware, it says. Also good for Pete Sampras. I don't know who that is. I'm sure he was a great tennis. He was good with tennis. How can you not like video games? Look at this. Look at that. This advertisement, this thing, this device with this advertisement. What's not to like about video games? You kidding me? Another weird cart. Let me pull this up here that I don't have. Virtua Racing came out on the 32X and the Genesis. Another weird thing. Virtua Fighter 1 came out on 32X. Virtua Fighter 2 came out on the Genesis. But Virtua Racing came out on both the Genesis and 32X. I don't know. This cart is huge. This is huge. Actually, I have a better picture I can show that really illustrates how weird and gigantic this is. So that is inside of the clamshell case. It's about twice the size of a normal Genesis cart. There's a lot of videos you can watch, tons of videos you can watch that compare this to the 32X. This game is a bit of a beautiful mess. And the 32X, what they really, this should have been like a flagship game for the 32X, because when you compare the two, it's like, wow, the 32X actually is way better. Way better than this game. It also boggles the mind that you made this at all. I'm glad they did, though. Actually, I did find, if anybody has the technical know-how, understands this stuff better than I do. Here it is. This is the inside. This is the guts of it. I guess the Sega Virtual Processor. Okay, so I guess this is the Sega Virtual Processor, and this was their Super FX chip. This was their Star Fox. I don't know a whole lot about the technical side of things, but it seems like a bad idea. Just don't do it. I need to get my hands on this. Watching videos comparing this to the 32X, and just Virtual Racer, I think, was just that big of a deal, because I believe Virtual Racer predated Virtua Fighter, or they were released around the same time, and that was like these were the Virtua games, I guess. Fighter, Racer, and Cop were pretty huge in kind of establishing the third dimension for video games. the 90s was a rush to get to 3D, even though I don't think that the third dimension was nailed down like industry wide until well into the 2000s, maybe even the 2010s. But I think maybe just Virtual Racer was that big of a deal in the arcades that they're like, we have to have it on our Genesis. And then by the time that happened, it's like, well, we'll throw it on the 32X too. Oh, this game is incompatible with the Majesco Entertainment's re-released Genesis 3 from 1998. According to Wikipedia here, the game, so according to Wikipedia here, this game renders 9,000 polygons a second with the SVP chip, significantly higher than what the standard Sega Genesis Mega Drive equipment hardware was capable of. It also outperformed Nintendo's rival Super FX chip. It beat the Super FX chip, but who remembers the SVP? No one. But Super FX, listen, you might have, it's about the games. All right, you might have the hardware, but do you have the games? And, you know, Star Fox is still around. People still love Star Fox. The chip was extremely expensive to manufacture, to lead Sega to pricey Genesis version, $100 in the US and £70 in the UK. Oh man, I need to get my hands on this. Actually, I want to get my hands on this and here's another weird Genesis cart that you wouldn't think is weird. Hold on. Okay, here's a weird cart for you. This is Super Street Fighter 2. Here it is. I don't know if how this compares exactly to Virtual Racing, but this is actually, I think for the time, at one point, the biggest cart that had ever been made. And that is because they wanted to have voices on it. So Capcom added a bunch of extra space so that they could fit all of the voices onto this, on the game here. Let's see, boom. So this is Super Street Fighter 2. So Super Street Fighter 2 has these 4 big things. We are up to the edge of the cart. This is barely fitting in. I bet this was a lot of money to manufacture. Just for comparison's sake, let's see what Sonic the Hedgehog looks like. Okay, so, and then when you bust Sonic the Hedgehog open, it's half the size. It's one big block. That's it. This is Sonic. They added that double-decker extra, those 2 extra big things, just for all of the sound. You know, this is kind of similar to the Famicom converter. There are weird carts inside. They look normal on the outside, but they're weird on the inside. Because Stop Skeletons, we go deeper. We go deeper. And we love our super crazy. Look at that. Boom. That is barely fitting it in. Arcade ports, trying to keep up with arcade ports. That rush of, you have home consoles, but you're also making so much money in the arcades. We have to get these games into the home consoles. Do whatever you have to do. You know, Sega only got 2 Street Fighters, and they got a weird, not Street Fighter Turbo Champions Edition. They got like a weird custom middle ground of sort of like Champions Edition, sort of like the original game of Champions Edition. But then there's like, Capcom's like, no, we need to have an actual Super Street Fighter 2 on the Genesis. I don't care how we have to do it. We're going to get it done. We got to get these 4 goddamn things on there because Street Fighter needs to be on Genesis. There's money. There's gold in them hills. Come on. This is what it used to be about, man. Oh, man. How can you not like video games? Okay, next, I don't have weird carts necessarily, but a weird thing with carts. Something that really grinds my gears is labels on the top. And we'll start with Sega. Really, like here we got our labels up top. Okay, this is a Master System game. No label on top. But they still have this little thing, which why even bother putting the sticker up there if you're not going to label it? Not to mention, like, man, just Master System carts are just really ugly. I mean, God, I kind of feel like we're getting, that's same energy between these two. Not a whole lot of flair. But then you get to the Genesis, and here we go. Oh, perfect. You can line up all your games. You can see exactly what you got. And then, of course, the short-lived 32X. No top label, right? Really, really silly. But, you know, because this is a Genesis cartridge, this is a top label. And not that you had too many of them to go around, but the Sega Saturn memory card or the 4 megabyte RAM, no top. So really, we can see here that Sega peaked with the Mega Drive / Genesis. It was the only one that actually cared about your time. Easy to stock. I guess the idea was you would have the cases because you bought them new because you weren't going to do anything illegal like buying them used, were you? But man, the differences that happened with Nintendo. Let's jump on like just the top of Nintendo stuff here. First off, I think I also want to point out that I didn't mention this. Famicom games just came in all different types. There was maybe kind of in a beautiful way. They were all licensed, but like Famicom games just came in different shapes and sizes. They're all beautiful. You know what? They're like us, okay? We're all bigger. We're all smaller. We're all have different edges and flat sides, but it's the game on the inside that counts, right? Wow. #wow. #deep. Uncle Derek going deep. But it's kind of like a Wild West situation with Famicom games because not all of them have tops. Now you can see the Splatterhouse there. You can kind of tell, okay, there's the pumpkin. You can see the top of Rick's thing there, and even like it stands out. So kind of depending on how you have them organized, and maybe you don't know where Mario is, but you remember that like, okay, it's the yellow one. I want to find the white one here. Honestly, Grace has a stack of Famicom games, and she bought them mainly because they just look really cool. And at one point, she had them kind of displayed out, and just all the different colors and stuff are neat. But the no labels on top, that's dumb because man, NES games. Listen, NES games might be bigger, way taller, as you can see, but look at those beautiful labels, all right? No problems. Oh man, love these labels. And then you got Super Nintendo? Like, of course, yeah, we keep it going. We have labels for days, all right? Oh man. Sitting down, I want to play Lagoon. I look for it, boom, maybe the logo's kind of small, but at least it's friggin' there. For the Famicom, what do you got? No labels. Japan don't like those labels. What is the deal? Also, I believe this is how all the PAL games look. PAL region, you got the curvy Super Famicom looking things. We got these boxy striped little lipped guys, but hey, at least we got labels up top. Okay, we got Nintendo, we got Super Nintendo, but everybody lost when it came to N64. No top labels. What are we doing? What are we doing? Come on, Nintendo. And then, then with the CDs. Sega over here, Nintendo over here. Really, I think USA came out on top in terms of the average. In general, in America, we had labels for our Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and our Genesis. I think that bodes better than most of the world. It's still strange that everything is so different. I mean, look at these. Look at these carts, man. These are all official ones. It's madness. Y'all, I tell you, when it comes to the top labels of all these carts, it's just chaos in general. And you know what? I got zero tolerance for it. I'm going back in time. I'm going to make this. We should have gotten it together. Calling Doc Brown. I'm getting the flux capacitor. I'm getting the DeLorean. I'm going back in time and make it right. Labels on the top. Come on. Let's go. It's not that hard. Anyway, okay. Enough of that. That is Sega and Nintendo. You know what system never had any top labels ever? Would be the Game Boy. And my mouse in the frame would be the Game Boys. Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Original. When it comes to weird carts, though, I think the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance might take the damn cake. Might take the cake and the pie and the trophy, whatever that saying is. We got a lot to cover for Game Boy Advance. Crazy carts. Hold on, I gotta get a Game Boy Color, Game Boy Original, Game Boy Advance. I need to get all this set up because hold on to your butts. The honorable mention is the Super Game Boy. This is a Super Nintendo cartridge, man. But it is just this gigantic, big old thing. And I don't know if you can really appreciate this, but you got the Game Boy, slot right here. Kind of Donkey Kong was the flagship game for it. And you can see this is the logo to let you know that it is Super Game Boy compatible. Oh my God, look at that. Can I get a focus on that? This is my cell phone, actually, that is filming this. And it looks pretty good. Look at my nails. And look at that. My nails are not a total mess. Okay. I don't know if you can really appreciate... I've always loved how the Super Game Boy... I'm going to put this up to the microphone. If you can really hear that, but like, it's snug. It's in there. It is not moving. It is so snug in there, and it feels really like tactile and satisfying to slide it in. So, all right, actual Game Boy stuff. So the Game Boy had a really long lifespan, of course, and had original games with Game Boy, Super Game Boy compatibility. And they had Game Boy Color games that were compatible with both the original Game Boy and Game Boy Color. And they had games that were only on the Game Boy Color. Here's some more. And the biggest indicator that it is a Game Boy Color cart only is the clear cart. Also, can we just appreciate for a second, back in the late 90s and early 2000s, like clear plastic stuff. Like the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy Advance both launched with like clear variants. There were tons of like clear plastic controllers for N64, clear plastic consoles for N64. I miss this. It needs to come back. It's just cool to see that, like, what is this? It's black, it's boring. Look, that's the video game. It's all right there. Anyway, bring that back. We need to bring it back. But outside of the color, there's a physical, the physical shape of the cart makes it impossible to play in a Game Boy because this little tab in the corner here, when the Game Boy first came out, the original Brick Boys, here's my Brick Boy. When you turned it on, there was a physical plastic thing that slid in there. So when you put in your game and you turned it on, you physically could not move it out. This thing was made in 1988, 89, So I don't know why they made that decision, but when they did, and they updated the Game Boy, they decided we don't need to do that anymore. So here's the Game Boy Pocket. There was the stopgap between the Game Boy Color. We put this in here. There is still the switch on top, but there's no plastic thing. But that means you can physically put in a Game Boy Color game. If I had batteries in here, I would say, nah, son. Needed to be a Game Boy Color. Again, look at, oh man, the clear plastic, so cool. And it goes with like the synergy here with the clear game. You can get Game Boy Colors that don't have clear. Why would you do that? Anyway, no more physical plastic actually physically keeping the cart inside of the machine anymore. I don't know. The weird anomaly of all of this is Kirby Tilt and Tumble. Because it is clear, you can see that this means it is a Game Boy Color game only. However, for some strange reason, it has the tab. So you can put it into your brick if you want to. See, that closes. But it'll tell you, like, nah, son. I don't know why that is. Because video games are weird. So, but anyway, this Kirby Tilt and Tumble is a game where you have a little gyrometer here where you play the game and you go like that to make Kirby jump. In practice, it actually is really terrible to do that because you're playing the game and you go like this to jump. You can't really see where the hell you're going. And it's not an easy game. It's really a pretty demanding platformer. I recommend you play an emulation with the Wiimote. Then again, it is on Switch. It's on Switch Online right now, right? So I wonder if the Switch Online probably just use a Joy-Con. That's a much better way to play it. But it is a thicker baby. Look at this. Look at the curves on them. Kirby got the extra curves, the extra guts for the gyrometer. And really, when it comes to Game Boy Color games, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And of course, actually, I got ahead of myself. Before we even, this is not even a Game Boy Color game. This is a Game Boy thing and all. You can see, because it has the little tab right there. This is for the original Game Boy, the Game Boy camera. Look at this thing. Let's get a comparison shot. See, it is, I like how a lot of these cartridges, I guess when they draw the blueprints, they take the original cartridge and just kind of bolt onto it. But you can see that it's just a normal Game Boy cartridge, just with little extra on top. I love this kind of, the backing here. It's like a little, let's get this angle right. Look at this little like staircase here. I'm not sure why they had to make it that way, but it looks really cool. It just looks like a fun little jetpack. That it's just a Game Boy cart with a cool jetpack. And this camera that shifts, and I'm not sure if you can really tell, but it is like when it shifts, it locks into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different slots. It is really solid. I mean, these things are still around. They still function, I believe. I mean, we had to buy 2 for a video because we needed a Japanese one, and they both worked really without any problem. You can get mods for these. People are still like, you can buy lenses for this stuff. I'm sure there's a way that you could just like, I'm sure there's a way that you can put this into your Game Boy here like this and use it as a webcam. I would imagine that there's similar to the oh, wait a minute, did I grab those? Oh, and I almost forgot another thing similar to like custom carts, like this guy. I believe this is another music software. It says, yeah, Music Box 1.3 there. It is just a Game Boy cart, and it needed a little extra space, so they just cut the plastic off and shoved it in there. And I'm sure that you can get kind of custom jobs like this for the Game Boy camera that, oh, I can see see, this is how I should do it. I should just turn that camera off and then talk to you like this. Hey guys, welcome to UDUG. This is the Patreon exclusive content that you wanted, right? You want me to talk to you through a reflective Game Boy screen. Okay, anyway. Yeah, there's lots of modding you can do with these. There's big ass lenses you can get for them. And again, I am a huge fan of games and devices that make portable devices less portable. Look at this big friggin' thing. Oh, it's great. Okay, so sorry, back on track, what I originally was going to talk about. Oh my gosh, too many carts. Too many carts. So many carts. Man, so, okay, like, I'm not sure if, I'm sure, all right. Y'all here on the Patreon, so you know what's up. But I still wonder, I wonder what the kids today think about Rumble technology, because now haptic feedback and Rumble is in every controller now. But there was a time when it was like this hot, cool new thing. So much so that they made these big fancy carts for like pinball games and some racing games, some fishing games, to have Rumble in them. And again, like, I don't understand. It isn't quite as a huge extra bolted on piece of crap like the Game Boy camera, but it's still like not really gonna fit in your pocket. Let's see. I mean, you know, even on a Game Boy Pocket, it's all this extra crap. Like this thing just hinges on. Oh, I guess for oh, okay. You know what? All right, I take it back. While this hinge does just come off, I guess I did not realize that the way that it is, if you keep it in the system, okay, never mind. I was gonna say it doesn't really come off. This is such a weird solution. It's such a weird thing to do. It must have been a good idea to make these custom carts to have this rumble. I don't know. Because honestly, like Perfect Dark is a fine game. I think that it has the rumble. It's just is very fitting for Perfect Dark, because Perfect Dark is a game for me that is best known for having so many extra features. And this GBA game, though not necessarily that great, does have a ton of extra features in multiplayer and stuff. And it having rumbles, like, sure, why not? Like, Perfect Dark for Game Boy Color and N64 is just like a kitchen sink kind of a game. Just keep throwing more crap into it. Who cares? Just whatever, more stuff. Putting the rumble in it, sure. But making these carts, of which I believe there are 12, they're just so strange. It was such a weird time. Like, this is the type of stuff that this doesn't exist in video games anymore. And I sometimes wonder, like, what do kids think of this stuff? Because I bet like when kids say like, man, old games are dumb, I'm like, hey, old games are great. But if a 12-year-old kid was like, yeah, but look at this, you guys wanted Rumble, so you had to get a whole new cartridge, you'd be like, all right, fair. That is really stupid, and maybe certain aspects of gaming have gotten a lot better. Weird official cartridges, of which there are like many of those. But we have to move on to the Game Boy Advance, and I think I'm gonna lump in Game Boy Advance games and Game Boy Advance carts that were for DS games but went into the Game Boy Advance slot. And I'm gonna pull it all out here. These are the DS accessories that went into the GBA slot, and then here we have our strange GBA games. If we can fit all of these, look at, oh my gosh, I can get them all in a frame. And here's a regular GBA game for comparison. So I'm lumping these all together because at their core, these are all just similar to how you compare to like the Game Boy camera to a Game Boy cart. These are all just, at the core, they are shaped and meant to fit into a Game Boy Advance slot. So I'm kind of lumping them all together. Let's start with the Game Boy Advance stuff, the actual Game Boy Advance games. Hold on, I'm gonna move this out for a second because I had a fun. I'm gonna take this out for a second. There are 4 big ones for the Game Boy Advance. You have Boktai. I said the sun is in your hand. This is a Kojima joint. This has a light sensor. The idea of this game, you're supposed to play in the sun or under like a black light or something like that. And this actually fits in this because you can also put this into a DS and play the sequel Lunar Nights and use that for extra content and stuff. This is a Kojima joint. Look at that. Konami. We see you, Konami. Okay, but also because of the light sensor, one of the few clear GBA games. Clear carts. I love it. Okay, Yoshi Topsy Turvy is a decent, not that great, to be honest, platform game, but it has gyro. You're supposed to go like this while you play. It's neat. It's not that great, but it kind of is a little fatter. It had a little extra juice there. And then Drill Dozer is flat on here, but has a little extra up there because it has rumble. Now, the fun thing is you have gyro and you have rumble, which are the 2 things that came with WarioWare Twisted. And what's kind of funny is, so let's first off compare just the size of this thing. It's such a ridiculous cart. I've talked about this before, but like, here's your GBA, and there's your GBA game in it, right? Nice and flush, perfect. That is not, you can put that in your back pocket, throw it in your backpack. That's not going anywhere. That is safe and secure. Boktai, a little extra junk up there, a little extra junk in the trunk, but probably mostly safe, gonna be okay. But when you put in WarioWare Twisted, dude, it's just like this extra, like, fat, swollen lips hanging off of it. They can easily, get caught and pulled out. Like, it's just not practical at all. And I love that. Carts that make your portable systems less portable. I love it. But I know something kind of funny. So you can see that this is basically the same size as a GBA cart, but just with like this extra junk on top. All right, you can see where, like where the blueprint was drawn, they just kept this basically the same and then put this extra junk on there. What's kind of crazy is, for how thick all that stuff is, it has a rumble and gyro. It's about as thick as these 2 carts together. It is almost exactly the same technology smushed in there. I'm sure the tech is maybe a little more complicated than that, but I just thought that was kind of interesting that if you just cut off the top of Drill Dozer, if you were to slice off the top of Drill Dozer and Yoshi, where the cartridge normally ends, and you were to like tape them together and stick them on the WarioWare here, it would be about the same. The overall mass and volume would be about the same. I have no idea if there's any like practical or I have no idea if that means anything. I just thought it was kind of interesting. In fact, real quick and really quick, let's just for fun. Let's see. I still have my scale here. we'll move this stuff out of the way because I'm nothing if not thorough or am just interested in really dumb shit. Okay, let's see how much these carts all weigh. Oh, there we go. Okay. It's upside down, but trust me, that says 11. Believe me. So, let's see how much. Drill dozer is flat. Has no extra. It's taller, but not any fatter. So how heavy is that? 15. Okay, so 4 more grams. Yoshi is taller and a little fatter. 14. Oh, wow. So actually not as heavy. It's lighter than drill dozer. Boktai. Whoa, 16, the heaviest one. Then how much is the big boy? Man, 25. 25 grams? Well, hold on. Okay, let's just, whatever, let's just keep going. How much is Kirby? 24! Whoa! Okay, a Game Boy camera? 25. These weigh the same. That's fucking wild. And let's see a pinball game with no battery. With no battery, 37. Whoa. This is why I love doing these Patreon exclusive things, because this is the type of shit that I would probably have to write out of a normal video, but this is the type of stuff that like I love to get into. Dumbass details. Okay, so I put a dumbass details with the battery, with a AAA battery rather. Man, 48. This thing is heavy. That is heavy. All right, so the pinball games, or at least Pokemon pinball here, the biggest, dumbest, heaviest stuff. For posterity, I don't know. This is the type of interesting shit you are not going to get anywhere else. This is your Patreon dollars at work. Okay, DS slot, GBA DS slot, man. We talked about all of these in a video you may or may not have seen. I still think maybe the coolest is Facening Scan, which is a GBA cart with a camera. I can make the same joke I made in the last video. Say cheese. The game itself is kind of weird, but the camera became obsolete when, you know, DS games came out, or DS systems. The DSi, DS Lite, they had cameras on them, but this is for the old DSs that did not have the cameras built in, like this guy here. And the idea is, you know, it's supposed to stick out a bit. And even if you have the original DS where, so actually the reason why it pops out is because on an original DS, GBA games were flush in there. And so you can't see the camera. So you would need to have to pop it out so it works. It was a weird idea to begin with. I wonder if there's more use for it. You know, it's like the Game Boy camera people. I know there's people out there, you know, doing crazy mods for, you know, Game Boy camera. Man, what about the Facening Scan? Because I bet this is a like better camera than this, you know, because there's about a good, I don't know, 5-10 years release between the two. Yeah, this was a 2007 game. So yeah, you know what? Like camera technology had improved quite a bit since this came out. So man, imagine what you could do. Imagine with like the weird tech in this game with the camera in this thing. You can only dream. Oh, here is the weight loss coach. Let's see. This guy here, the pedometer. And you plug it in. Oops. You plug it in, and then, you know, shortly after like smartphones came out that would have automatic pedometers, or you could this was just how crazy like the kind of casual market was. This seemed like a good idea. And it still works, yeah. I just walked 71 steps. Man, but now I just play Pikmin Bloom and this takes care of itself. It's crazy the battery still works in this. Oh, but I will say one cool thing about the pedometer. So you're supposed to like wear it on your belt. And so to keep this clean, they packed it in with a little rubber guy here to keep it from getting dirty. Well, I never use this. It's just honestly, after the video we made, I just put it in the box and put it on the shelf. I put it with the Taito paddle here because this is, of all the devices, this is like genuinely the coolest damn thing. It only worked for 4 games, for Arkanoid, Space Invaders Extreme 1 and 2, and Space Bust a Move. And when we made that video, we were able to get the Arkanoid and 2 Space Invaders games. The 2 Space Invader games are really good. I recently was able to get Bust a Move. Well, actually, I can go grab them real quick. When I made that video, we only had Arkanoid and Space Invaders Extreme. Since then, I bought Space Bust a Move. And just for the record, it's just a hunk of plastic. There's no region locking on this, so you can get Japanese or American versions of the game and it'll work with the paddle, even though this only was released in Japan. But I cannot say enough how there's a heavy weight to this, how it really has a good level of nuance. When you spin it, it slows down quickly because it's hefty. This thing can take a beating. And honestly, of the 3 games here, I guess 4 because there's Space Invaders Extreme 1 and 2. Space Bust a Move was really my shit. And playing this game with the paddle is great. It is so good. If anything, really, of all the stuff I'm talking about here for this whole video, this is like the one thing I like super, super highly recommend. It is really, really cool. It is a bit expensive, but again, I always say, if you are going to get an expensive game or an expensive game peripheral, make it a good one, because there's so much expensive crap out there, and just because it is expensive does not mean it is good. So get something good. So I would get, I highly recommend this little set right here. And then, of course, the most disappointing one was the piano. It is so underused in Easy Piano, the game that it is supposed to be for. And I do have the Korg synthesizer game for DS. This does not work for it. It is only used in a couple of mini games in Easy Piano. It looks so cool. It was not cheap. And it's fun to, display. It just looks really cool to display it like this. But it is hardly of any use at all. And again, it is a device that makes your portable console basically not portable. Though it does have enough sturdy... It's built for you to play it at home. It does actually... It sits nice. You can have it in theory, it is well built. Like the people that engineered and designed this thing made a quality product. The developers who made the software that it goes to did not utilize it enough. And it is just kind of... It's one of the dumbest things in terms of how cool it looks, how well it's built, and how much it's actually utilized in the software that it was made for. It's one of the dumbest peripherals in video game history. It's kind of incredible. It is very similarly to the Guitar Hero On Tour thing, which is honestly just one of the smartest and coolest gaming peripheral devices ever. You got your 4 buttons here. Yep. Yeah, this little slot here where you can keep your stylus. It locks in there really solid. I don't know if I mentioned this in the video, but let me pull this out. They thought of damn everything. Because at the time there were 2 DSs. There was the original Fat DS and then the DS Lite. How the GBA slots worked is, they fit snug in the original DS and they hung out a bit in this. So, if I was going to play this, it would stick out a little more, right? And that actually might make this easier to play, but I guess they were selling this to kids. And so you could actually unscrew this and put on the smaller version, a smaller GBA cart slot thing that would fit this guy. And all of that is just put inside the packaging here. I don't know. For a device that does physically hurt my hand like crazy, and I physically cannot play at all. I cannot get enough of how well designed the box for this thing is. It's a weird cart. It's a weird... This just shows you how goddamn huge the DS and Guitar Hero were at the time. You know, it's got this cool window. The box does not open like from the side where you pull this and sometimes you can rip it. It flips open like that for easy storage and put away. One thing I don't think we probably shot it and weren't able to put it in the video. I bought this used. It has all these stickers from EA on it. Like even the game itself. There's a big sticker across the front for EA. This is an Activision game. This is not EA. I don't know where these stickers came from. I'm guessing this is actually somebody from EA bought this to look at it. Because really, when you look at like third-party developers, you know, EA and Activision are two of the big ones. I guess they're you know, keeping each other, watching each other closely. So strange that there's these EA stickers on it. And I feel like there was a time where I would have taken these types of stickers off, but I personally, to me, this is the type of thing. It's like, oh, this makes this particular version priceless. So I'm not taking these off. It's just, also I can't remove it. I don't want to get arrested by EA. EA Games. It's all in the jail. Great cart, great peripheral, great box. Other than the fact that it hurts your hands and is actually not fun to play, no notes. Other than that, you nailed it, guys. And of course, there is the one GBA game that we weren't able to get for the video because I chose to get the piano over it. But over here is like a weird kind of mouse peripheral. That's where I have to go to the projector for that. Okay, this is the Mag Kid Slide. The Slide Adventure Mag Kid. It is an optical mouse. There's a GBA slot right there. It's slotted inside your GBA, and you moved the game around. You moved the system around, and that is how you played. Slide Adventure is only released in Japan. It's only made for that game. Matter of fact, I've we talked about this in a video, and we used footage from IGN. So I'm just gonna switch over to that. Oh, all right, and some not sponsored content from IGN. Here, yeah, the video credit, IGN right there. So the Slide Adventure Mag Kid, the DS. First off, gotta make the joke. Good Kid Mag City. Anyway, so this is the game. Again, only released in Japan. It was a cartridge that you slotted into the DS cart and turned it into an optical mouse, and you moved the entire system around to play the game. If I ever made another console mouse video again, I guess I had to get this because buying the piano instead of this, I kind of regret it. Even though the piano is like a better thing to like display. As a matter of fact, because I'm shooting this slightly out of order, you can see I've already put the piano away because that was yesterday. So yeah, this game looks really sweet. It looks really fun. It looks really cute, kind of like in that Katamari Damacy, Chibi Robo style of just neat, quirky Japanese stuff. It is, in fact, a weird controller. That is a weird cart. You know, not a whole lot of let me fix this. We saw the Genesis carts, the J carts that had controller ports in the cart itself. But seeing a cart that turns the console itself into a controller, it's kind of similar, right? Stretch, maybe? I don't know that there's a whole lot more to it than like that game. And I kind of get the sense that game is like neat, but not it's no Taito paddle. It's no Taito paddle, is my understanding. But it's weird. And it technically it's slots and the cartridge slots, so it counts. And before we move on from Game Boy and Nintendo, I honorable mention the Pokemon Mini. This is, its own little thing. Look at these guys. Look at this little thing. I mean, compared to a GBA, it has that fat lip for pulling it out like a GBA. But honestly, this is closer to like a Switch cart. Hold on, we got a Switch cart. I'll grab the only Pokemon game that I actually own for Switch. Of course, I have Pokemon Snap. This is like a Switch game merged with a GBA. It's like the evolution or de-evolution, like that. This big guy with the lip, this little guy with the little lip, and then just lost the lip entirely for Switch. Pokemon Mini. And it isn't the Nintendo Mini, it is the Nintendo Pokemon Mini. There were a handful of games for this, and it slides in there. And actually, to pull it out, you need to pull this tab open, pop it out. It is in there. It is secure. 2001, but it had that like 1989 tech for the original Game Boy, having this little tab to keep it in. It was very small, and these carts were rare. And I'm sure if you lost them, they were difficult to replace. So maybe it was good that they had that little extra security on there. But that's a weird cart. Official. It's real. Also, yeah, of course, not region locked. So this is a Japanese. This is an American Mini, Japanese Pokemon game. Thankfully, not region locked. And there weren't a whole lot of games for this thing. This is a weird. We did a video on it. It's weird. And I almost forgot. How can we forget the e-reader? With these stupid cards. Oh, okay, that's something different. Oh yeah, AR cards for the 3DS. Oh, I forgot about these. That's right. You shine your 3DS on these, and like they pop up, and you can say hi to Kirby. Hi, Kirby. Man, the AR camera on the 3DS. No, there's a potential video. Lest we forget the e-reader, which, it kind of looks like the Game Boy camera, but like just on steroids. It's like similar energy, the way that it kind of has this backpack, and the way that it's I feel like there's like kind of separated at birth. Like the people that designed this pulled out the blueprints for this, and that's kind of how they got it started. I don't know. Really, when it comes to... Oh, here's the only original style GBA that we have. When it comes to carts that make your portable system less portable, this is the king. This is the #1 Duke of New York, right? The A1 Duke of New York right here. It is almost bigger. I think we made this joke. This is almost bigger than the GBA itself. Like, it's been a while since my calculus. I don't know how to do the full volume, the full area, but like, this is, I think in terms of full volume, about the same mass as a GBA. So actually, now that I got the e-reader, let's do kind of a ranking here. We have WarioWare Twisted. Definitely very big, makes your stuff not very portable. And you know what? Same with, these Rumble games. The Game Boy camera, that's getting really, really big. Of course, you got this piano that's almost like, that is actually built for it not to be portable. So I don't know. Actually, I feel like this almost doesn't count because they kind of made it for your system literally to not be portable. However, in terms of things that make your Game Boy not portable, the e-reader might be the king. However, a bunch of things I do not have. Oh, hold on. Oh, I almost slide this right here. There we go. Okay. This gets a little honorable mention because it's actually a DS game, but still. This gets like DS. But in terms of things that make your Game Boy less portable, the e-reader is the one. Not to mention, if you're going to have the e-reader around, you probably have to take a bunch of cards with you. So, however, there is one, I guess like almost like flavor. There is one run of devices that are carts that are even goddamn bigger and ridiculous. And those are Game Genie carts. I used to have a Game Genie for the Game Boy. I believe I sold it when I sold my original fat brick, and I didn't really need to get it back. But we're gonna look at all the Game Genies, because there's some weird cards, but really the Game Boy and Game Gear are the two that I recall being the just weirdest. But we're gonna have to go to the projector for that, because unfortunately I don't have any Game Genie stuff. So cut away to that. Excellent. Game Genie is here. The champ is here. Infinite lives. Jump higher, punch harder, run faster, skip levels. Game Genie has the answers. Shout out to NES World down here. This is the website I'm pulling this picture from. You needed this because there wasn't like emulation where you could do cheats and stuff like that. There weren't save states. I remember when I got the Game Genie, I was excited because I was like, finally, there are games that I own that I can finally beat. And that's what this came about because there was the idea of Nintendo Heart. Oh, way off. Wait, how did I get so off? There we go. All right. Framing better, I guess. Okay. The term NES hard, right? Sucks. Not the term, but how they made games like artificially hard. Some NES games like Battletoads and the like, if you sat there and tried hard enough, you absolutely could beat Battletoads, and it would take you like 40, 50 hours to do it. Because that game has a bunch of one-hit kill bullshit and no continues. You needed Game Genie for stuff like that. And I think the reason why I don't have a Game Genie anymore is because my front loader, see down here, my front-loading NES died, and for my 10th birthday, I got the top loader, and that's the one that I've been using my whole life since, and it is not compatible with the Game Genie, so I just got rid of it. I love how, if you can really get a close-up shot of, see closely, it looks like a bikini. It's like a jock strap, but that was on there because you needed to be able to pull it out, because when you shoved it into, because you had this at the at the very end of your NES cartridge, so then it means your NES game would stick out. It would stick out quite a bit, and so you could pull out the cartridge and the Game Genie at the same time. You have this plastic thing here. Spookily groovy? Sorry? Total mag 92%. Wait, did they give this a 92%, or was that mag called Total Mag 92%? Game Genie's here, and there were a lot of Game Genies. Actually, we can just go to the Wikipedia page and kind of scroll through. So there's kind of like the classic NES Game Genie. The Super Nintendo one had like this top lip kind of like wiggled a little bit. I don't know why. It kind of it had a little hinge that gave you like a centimeter or two more to kind of slide it in there. I think like the lamest one is the Genesis, because there's no frill. I guess it's reflective, but like it just looks lame. The King, though, and we got to pull out some better pictures for it. This is the Game Boy Game Genie. It was massive. It slotted on top of your Game Boy, and it like hugged it all the way around. And here's a little divot here so you could get your finger in and turn it off and on. And I need to pull out some other pictures, because the craziest thing about this, and what they're not showing you here on Wikipedia, the back of this thing has a little compartment for the book. The Game Genie book with all the codes. It's like a tiny little like post-it note. Hold on, let's get some pictures here. All right, there's the compartment, but the book isn't here. I need to see the book. Oh, what's up? Like, the Espanol page of Wikipedia has like better pictures of the Game Boy Game Genie, but not what I want. Hold on. Excellent. God, it's the 90s. The 90s-ness of it is like pouring off my screen. It's like a mist. I'm breathing in the 90s from this ad. It's like the fountain of youth is this ad to take me back to the 90s. Oh my god. What is this? Oh my god. Oh, it's so small. Can I zoom in on this? Okay, the picture is very, very small, unfortunately, but Man, if I'd known this existed. All right, so there it is. Here's a converter for the NES 101 only. This is for the top loader. I didn't know this existed. I guess I just assumed like, oh, don't need this anymore, and I threw it in my fireplace, you know. Oh man, I wish I had known that, because I've seen Game Genies around. I've seen them at conventions and stuff, but I never thought to buy another one. I have a Game Genie the code book, because that's where the name Stop Skeletons and Fighting came from. But sorry, I'm sorry, NES World. I'm getting distracted. I need Game Genie. All right. So I got a couple pictures here on eBay that'll help. So this is the book. To give you an idea, like here's the Game Genie, and then there's the book. Like here's a close-up of the book right here. But the book, it's literally like Post-it notes. It is like 1 inch by 2 inches. It is so tiny, but that's where they had all the codes on there. So how smart is that? You got the device is portable. You better have a book to go with it. That's portable too. That's the craziest thing to me. And kind of looking at a bunch of auctions and stuff here, I kind of get the sense that getting it with the book is actually kind of difficult. If I can show... Here we go. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Aubrey Sales 1. Not an ad. They actually do some pictures where you can see. Yep, you close that, open it up, and you pull out the book. Look at that little guy. Look how thick look at that thing. How many carts have a slot for books in them? None. Goddamn Game Genie for the Game Boy. I don't regret getting rid of it because it's really big. I seriously would have just been... This would have been sitting in a big box for a long time. It's so big. So big, in fact, that I wonder, like, did they make it bigger to fit the book? Or was it already so big, they're like, we might as well put a book in there? It's so wild. It's so dumb. And I believe there was a Game Gear one as well, right? And was the Game Gear one also kind of crazy? Yeah. Oh, it also had a book. It also had a book. Etsy. I want big picture. Oh man, look at this thing. Yep. Also, dummy big with the book. Oh, here's a good... Oh, this is a great shot. Oh, let's go to this eBay. Sometimes eBay has got... What? Look harder, jerk. God, there was a Smash TV for the Game Gear? What? Oh my god. This is what it's like. Okay, this is what it's like researching. This is what's like when you hang out with Derek researching, and you click on stuff and you just find stuff and you go, what? Like Super Smash TV on the Game Gear. You probably needed the Game Genie. I bet that game was like stupid hard. Oh man, there was also the TV converter. I love the ratio of size to screen. You can say what you want about the Steam Deck and how much bigger and bulkier it is than the Game Gear, but like at least like it's using a lot of the screen. But then again, you got this guy, bolt on one of these things. You're talking like the Game Gear was already barely portable enough as it was. More weird carts, you want them, I got them. How about the Game Shark? Basically a Game Genie. This thing was how you got to the hidden island in GoldenEye. These things are really, really temperamental. I don't know if this one works, but if you want to buy these to get some fun hacking with your N64, I guess be aware that there's actually a lot of different ones. This is the Game Shark Pro. They sometimes don't work, so buyer beware. This is how you would hook it up to a computer. A lot of crazy stuff, but let's talk official Nintendo stuff. The DD, the N64 DD. Here's a cart with video and audio in. This is the mic in, and then you got, video audio. This was for the recording on Mario Artist. This is an actual cart here. And it's actually not even the weirdest one. So here is, if we can get it all into the frame, Mario Fyotobi. This is more Photoshop style Mario Artist stuff. Let's see, let's do a fun little unboxing. Oops. Oh, I'm sorry, we need a control. For our control group, here's Mario. And it is just, it's a little fatter. Just a little fatter, you know? I'm not sure what else is in the guts here, but it is just got a little extra back there. Let's compare this to the Game Shark. I got a little extra on the back, a little extra up front, but you know, very close to a normal N64 cartridge. And of course, you would pop it on like that. Not too dissimilar to a Game Genie. Basically, after Game Genie, Game Shark carried the torch through the PS1 and N64 lifespan. Then I think there might have been a Game Shark for PS2, but it was kind of done for them after that, unfortunately. But yeah, Fyotobi, Mario Fyotobi. This is of course, Japanese only. Little SD cards, 2 megs. Wow, 2 megs on this thing. That's a lot. That's a lot of megs. Now look, this kind of reminds me of a Satellaview cartridge. It has 2 slots for your SD cards, I believe, and it is. Here's the crazy thing, though. So it is just like, it really does look like a Super Nintendo game, if I could find one. Where did I pile all that shit? To me, this looks more like a Super Famicom cart than an N64 cart. It is sort of like the two of them sort of together to make this. But here is the craziest thing. Not only does it have, you know, these slots up front, we're gonna grab the scale once again, because this thing is heavy. It is hefty. This girl has got it going on. So let's do a control first. That is 117 grams. Oh, and then also, you know, let's just see how heavy this was. This was from ours, 107 grams. So that means that, like, really outside of all this extra hardware here, there's not much, you know, in terms of, there's not much in that thing. Game Shark is really light. 88 grams. Yeah, because it is just, you know, because the Game Shark just needs to manipulate software. It doesn't have to have a whole lot of software itself. I'm sure that's kind of how that goes. All right. This guy, 180 grams. It's hefty, boy. 117. So about like 50%. What is that like? 117 is like 60. So yeah, it's about 50% heavier. It is absolutely the heaviest cart. It just feels dense. You know, we're doing grams. I don't know what the hell a gram is. Hold on, let's you can change the units to ounces. How many ounces is that? 6.3 ounces. So that's like 1/3 pound. 6 ounces, 6, 12, 18, yeah. Okay, that's 3/8 of a pound. Still, that is close to half a pound for just one cart. God, I kind of want to just like go through all my carts. This has got to be one of the densest and heaviest carts, maybe ever. Oh, it's a cassette. My mistake. Oh, I apologize. No, I meant no disrespect. It is actually a cassette. I don't know if it really counts as a cartridge necessarily, but I still think I'm going to talk about it briefly anyway, because it is proprietary for Nintendo. And I don't know, it's not a CD, technically. So the 64DD, of course, did not come out in America. And I think a lot of people know that it was a disc-based system. And kind of one of the reasons why it took so long to come out in Japan and why it never came out in America is they took a long time to make their proprietary cart. It's kind of similar. They still do this. Like the GameCube had the proprietary CD, and the Switch is not your standard SD cart. It's like a cool Nintendo licensed SD card so they can reap some extra profits from it. This is a 64DD game, and I don't know if it's some people probably have not seen this up close. It does kind of remind you of a floppy disk. Let's see, because you can. So way to slide this open, kind of similar to almost like a zip disk if you've seen Zoolander, but like old floppies, man. It's just a big spinning disk inside there, and it has this thing to prevent it from being touched. But this is we'll call it a cart. It's a Nintendo cart, and it is not too dissimilar to what the PSP was. Hold on, just moment of silence for Power Stone. I can't believe Power Stone 2 was only ported once to the PSP, a system that doesn't really have quick, easy 4-player access. Rest in peace. Similar idea that this is like the universal media disc that only worked in one system, universal. But it is a little plastic case for a disc. Not too dissimilar to how this is. And, this kind of looks like a floppy from, the 80s and the early 90s. This kind of looks like a DVD, maybe almost like a micro DVD, or like you could get little discs for your computer that were like this small or slightly bigger. Like there are discs that were GameCube disc sized. But both of these are proprietary. Both of these are specific for these companies. And you know what? Honorable mentions. They're weird carts too. They're weird and they're beautiful. So they get a shout out also. After that point, you had your Vita games, you had your Switch games. They all kind of look very similar to like, even like, say, an N-Gage. Oh, you know what? They're not necessarily weird. I'm going to grab a couple of other carts that they're not weird, but so you can get a closer look at them. Okay, so we all about that N-Gage life. And these N-Gage games were pretty small. Basically, yeah, like SD cards, SIM cards, cell phone stuff. Nothing too fancy. One thing I like about the N-Gage, though, look how like kind of economical and small these carts, the cases were. Not to mention, like, each case came with the ability to put like 2, 4, 6 games in here. Oh, wait, this folds this way. So, okay, only 2, 4. But I guess if you had one more of these, actually in one of my cases, I have all 6 slots filled up because I don't want to have these games loose, Can't have them loose. Oh, you know what? You can slide. Oh, okay, so you can... Man, all right, how smart is this? I didn't realize that. So, this is keep your N-Gage games safe like this, or leave it open, lock it in here, and then the games stay in there too. So if you wanted to have 2, 4, 6 games right here, smart, because it's a portable system, but you have these physical games. Got to keep them safe. And you know what? They're very thin. They feel kind of flimsy. So when they lock in here, they lock in tight. Okay, cool. I don't want to push too hard. But the N-Gage, not a successful console, and even less successful console, the Tapwave Zodiac. This is a video that you know what? If this year hadn't fucking sucked so much, I would have already had a video out on this. But anyway, had to get every physical copy of Doom, had to get the Zodiac Tapwave version of Doom. This is the Doom 2. God, and it's really, oh wow. It's like in the case, like, I'm so, okay. A little nervous to pull it out so hard. I don't know why they're baby blue, but basically the exact same thing. So they must have licensed these carts from somebody in the same place. So, I mean, hey, somebody was getting paid. So N-Gage, Zodiac, these were about this was 2003. Yeah. Oh, so, all right. So yeah, this is 2000. So these actually were contemporaries. So I guess like they're contemporaries because, okay, like the N-Gage had the internet and it was a cell phone. The Tapwave Zodiac had video games, had the internet. It was a PDA. Both these things became obsolete a few years later when smartphones came out. We done N-Gage content, not done the Tapwave Zodiac. Man, hopefully in 2024, I want to be able to knock that one out. Next, let's talk NEC. Let's talk TurboGrafx. This is a TurboGrafx video game. Well, actually, hold on. This is a TurboGrafx video game. They came in jewel cases. They actually came in boxes, kind of big, long, thin boxes, and they came in jewel cases that had the games in them. This is a TurboGrafx game. If you've never seen it, this is the whole game. This is the cartridge. And very strange that not only were these jewel cases kind of proprietary because they had to have this thing, you couldn't mix and match your jewel cases because they came labeled with stickers. So actually getting a complete Splatterhouse, I need to get, first off, gotta get the game. Then I gotta get the case with the instructions. Gotta get the right case. And then I gotta get a box. I do not have the box, so I guess my Splatterhouse is not fully, not complete, but I'm happy with this. But the TurboGrafx had a CD system bolted onto it, which that's another discussion altogether. But like, man, you talk about the Sega CD, or you talk about the 64DD and how ridiculous those looked bolted onto the systems. Nothing beats how big and bulky and stupid the TurboGrafx CD was in terms of how much bigger it was than the system. You needed this card so that you can use it. The whole thing was so dumb because you needed to get the system, you needed to get the CD add-on, and then they kind of 32x'd themselves and just said, no, all right, Super CD. No, forget it. We have a whole new line of TurboGrafx 16s, but this is for the Super CD only, as opposed to just normal CD. So, and this, you needed to get a whole new system for. It was basically the same system, but I don't know. I guess I don't know. I'm not a huge authority on it. The games did not look necessarily that much better. Oh, this Super CD. Oh. Wait a minute, what? Hold on, I'm learning something in real time here. This Super CD may be used with a Turbo Duo or TurboGrafx 16 CD system when equipped with a Super System card? Wait, was there like an expansion pack for... Wait, I'm sorry, I'm not doing a bit. I actually didn't know this. Hold on. What? All right. Let's go to the projector real quick. Okay, I swear I'm not doing a bit. I did not know this existed. Oh, this is a Japanese one. What the... Oh, so... It's like an expansion pack for the TurboGrafx? Oh, I guess this is probably the Japanese version of this guy. Hold on. Now I'm Hold on, let's see if I can do some fancy... Oh, fancy comparison shots. And see, look at the difference there. That's actually really, see, this dumb shit that I find really fascinating. The proportions on like the label and this black section is different. And these little corners down here, that's new. Also, this is version 3.0. I don't know what the different versions are. I wonder how expensive this card was compared to just getting a whole new Turbo Duo. However, the Turbo Duo, the system itself was like a nice, sleek, cool looking, like, it was so much better. It was so much better than the just ridiculous size of the TurboGrafx system with the CD add-on. Matter of fact, the TurboGrafx CD add-on came in two parts because you could remove the actual CD part as a portable CD player. But this is getting way off topic. Okay. But also, yo, check out, like, the reason why there's the Turbo Express existed, there was a portable TurboGrafx, and that is because these were the games. This is how big they were. And so, you look at like the Sega Nomad, the Sega Genesis Nomad. It was a giant bulky thing, and the Genesis carts were pretty small, but they kind of stuck out. Ergonomically speaking, like the Nomad was not that great of a device. It worked great. I had one for a while, and it was actually kind of nice to be like, oh, cool. I'm just going to play Splatterhouse and Sonic in my bed, like here. That the Turbo Express was, it was slightly bigger than a Game Boy. It was a little more hefty than a Game Boy. But like, yo, the appeal of the Turbo Express where you could play similar to the Switch. You could play your home games to go. And that was pretty wild. And that's because TurboGrafx 16 games were this. And this is the late 80s. So this is competing with the Genesis, with the Master System, with the NES. I mean, even the Famicom, like yo. And certainly, you know, a game like Mario Brothers 3 does not really stack up to, you know, Splatterhouse or Keith Courage. Like, there's definitely, you know, there was more processing power and development wizardry happening on the Famicom and NES. But still, the fact that, like, you know, don't forget, it's an NES game. This is an NES game. There's a cart that houses this, you know, raw hardware where the game actually exists. You know, all Splatterhouse is right here. All of Excitebike is right here. Also, I mean, they're cards. Does that count as a weird cart? Here's a game on 5 cards. So that's a weird way to hold a game. All right, so we have a TurboGrafx game. I guess it's a cart, even though it does say it's a Hue card. So we have basically a game on 1 card, and then a game on like 5 cards. You know, that's a weird cart, right? And in fact, if you really look at the volume, look at the thickness here. You know, I bet, like, honestly, you know, this is about the same width of, you know, 5 cards. So I don't know. I tell you what, honorable mention. One of the weirdest carts out there are cards. Okay, a game on cards. That's a weird cart. I'm calling it. It's my video. It's my video. I'll do what I want. All right, I'm counting it. E-reader games are also weird carts. There you go. I guess this is similar to the N64 expansion pack. However, the N64 expansion pack, though it looks like a cart, doesn't go into like the cartridge slot. So I don't know if it counts, because if I did that, then all of a sudden I'd have to have, like, you know, memory cards and stuff. I know that they're kind of like cartridge shaped and cartridge based. If I included the N64 expansion pack, I'd also have to. I feel like I should have to include memory cards and stuff. And so I just, you know what, memory cards are all different shapes and sizes. There's all different things that slot into a Dreamcast or an N64 memory card. However, I'm going to say that these TurboGrafx CD system card counts because it goes into the game slot. And then, of course, you got this shit right here. Okay, so that was basically my collection. Most all of my weird cartridges that I could show you, some of which I've made videos for. You've already seen, but one I show you again. Okay, hold on. While we wrap up, the big Game Genie Nintendo Game Boy Compact System book. So this is UDUG episode 3, Uncle Derek Underground, Patreon exclusive content, and this is the first one that you all voted on for. I apologize for this one coming out late in October. What's going to happen is I'm going to upload this, and then immediately after that we're going to have the poll, and then immediately after that I'm going to start making the next video. I think these should really come towards the middle of the month. Still getting a rhythm of a feeling for how to produce this stuff. Struggling enough with the regular schedule right now. But there is I guess I can give you an update on that. The Zeebo Part 2 video is about 2/3 finished. And I wanted to make sure it was done and done right. I didn't want to split it into like a third part. I'm also trying to get some other videos going too, so that, again, I finished with that video. I have another project that is ready to go, nearly finished, or really kind of ready to start shooting and recording. Yeah, this one. So yeah, this UDUG is coming at the end of the month. I'm not happy about that. So the next one will be coming much sooner than that. And just try. Yeah, you know, it's been a challenging year. But you know what? Here's the thing. Every year's challenging. I let this one get to me, so I apologize for that. It's been 16 years of doing this. I'm better than this, so I got plans to hopefully end the year on a good note and then slide into 2024 with a good momentum behind me. I'm really, really thankful that people stick around. Listen, I try and do the best I can with every video with what I got. Earlier this year, I did not have a whole lot. So try to get rested, try to feel good, and I'm about back at that. A lot of things keep kind of dragging you down. That's just how it goes. You guys got to keep moving. You got to keep putting one foot in front of the other. So new stuff is coming. I apologize for the drought. I know that for years y'all been y'all been gotten very comfortable with the monthly Derek content, with the monthly Staff Skeletons content, and that's over the last couple of years has really slowed down. It's all adjusting. I'm excited to get a good rhythm established again, and I just, it's too much fun. This shit's too much fun. I'm not ready to retire yet. How about that? I still got stuff I need to do, stuff I want to do, and I want to have more fun with all of y'all. I really like having an audience to entertain, and I think some of y'all like my goofy shit. So I feel like it is a mutual thing, right? That's gonna do it though. UDUG episode 3, Crazy Carts. This is Uncle Derek saying stay powerful, and I'll see you real soon, real soon on the Patreon. Everybody take care and good night.